The Dales Way, an 82-mile footpath linking the towns of Ilkley in West Yorkshire and Bowness on Windermere in Cumbria. The route passes through some of the most spectacular scenery the Yorkshire Dales and the Lakeland Fringes has to offer. My aim is not to race from one end to the other and break some kind of record time. I want to take my time, photograph and film the sights, and hopefully impart some useful photography advice along the way. So join me as I walk and photograph the Dales Way on the ultimate photo walk. It's day 4 on my Dales Way adventure, and after 3 days of scorchingly hot sun, it's quite nice to have a bit of cloud cover and a cooling breeze today as I head from Ribblehead, which is technically not on the route but well worth a visit if you're passing through, towards the village of Dent. It's going to be quite a momentous day as I pass the halfway mark and cross the border into Cumbria, although for the next 2 days I'll still be in the Yorkshire Dales National Park. Work that one out if you can. I've reached the impressive Dent Head Viaduct, less photographed than its larger impressive cousin the Ribblehead Viaduct. I think it's equally as impressive, but just maybe in a different way. I managed to get a really nice shot, or at least I hope it turns out alright, from the road looking at this viaduct, heading the valley which meanders on towards my destination for today, Dent. But if you come to a place like this, where you've got a large structure and you get quite close up to it like I am now, then you'll often get frustrated if you try and get the whole thing in. Even with a wide-angle lens, in a tight little valley like this, it can be really difficult to get everything in. In places like this, I'll often recommend taking cross-sections of the larger structure. This not only helps you to emphasise scale, it also helps you to pick out little details as well. As I wander on down into Dentdale, I'm hoping to look back at this viaduct and maybe get a shot through the trees as well as it looms on the horizon beyond. Dendale is distinctly different from the terrain I've been walking through so far on the Dales Way. The valley itself is much wider and there tends to be a lot more tree cover alongside the river as well. So far on my route, trees have been very few and far between, and when I have found them, they've provided much needed shelter from the searing sun. Although today it's becoming a bit more drizzly, so they're sheltering me from the rain instead. If you're heading out to take photographs on a dull, overcast day like it is today, then my advice would be to come to places like this, where there's a lot more coverage rather than getting lots of sky in your photograph. An overcast sky can not only make a photograph look dull and uninspiring, it can also be really difficult to balance the exposure. So today I've been looking out for little details alongside the path, trying to frame my shots with trees, or trying to get shots where I limit the amount of sky in that I possibly can. Anyway, I'm 2 miles away from Dent now, and I believe that there are thunderstorms forecast for later on, so I better put my best foot forward and try and get there before they do. It's day 5 on my walk along the Dales Way, and despite having a few blisters, I've left Dent with a bit of a spring in my step this morning, because the forecast was for heavy downpours for much of the day, but so far I seem to have dodged them quite well. I don't think I will be for the whole day though, so I better put my best foot forward and head up beyond Sedbergh to Beckfoot, my destination for day 5. leaving the River Dee and Dentdale behind me now and heading toward the town of Sedbergh at the base of the brooding Howgill Fells. Along the way the terrain has changed from the rolling dales of Yorkshire to the dramatic fells of the Lake District. When we're out photographing in changing landscapes like this, we often place a lot of emphasis on our composition and how we technically expose our photographs. But I'm turning my mind to how I'm going to present my photographs. I've thought as I've been walking along that I might create a triptych of 3 photographs together of the different terrains that I've been walking through along the Dales Way. It'll be a little bit different from the standard rectangular frame that most people go for, and it will show a progression along a journey as well, almost inputting a narrative into my photographs. It might be something that you'd like to try at some point. Try putting some more emphasis on thinking about how you're going to present the photographs once you've taken them. It just gives an extra dimension to your photography. Anyway, I'm going to head down towards Sedbergh now and the Lune Valley and follow the River Lune to my destination of Beckfoot at the end of today's walk. After walking along the banks of the River Wharfe for the first 3 days of my trip, my relationship with the Cumbrian rivers so far, the Dee and here on the banks of the Lune, have been very fleeting to say the least. Now when I usually go out for a walk with my camera, I'm always very selective about the photographs that I make, trying to get absolutely everything spot on before I click the shutter. But I'm trying to remind myself that on a long distance walk where my relationship with my subject matter is going to be fleeting, then I have to take more photographs and take them more frequently. At the end of the day, these photographs are there to be a document for me to look back on in years to come as a reminder of the time that I walked the Dales Way. And if I'm really pernickety like I usually am, I'm not going to take any photographs, so therefore I'm not going to have any memories. So if you're anywhere where you think I'm only going to have one chance at this, then take as many photographs as you want. That's the beauty of digital photography. Anyway, the grey skies are starting to loom. I've dodged the showers so far. I've got a mile to go, so I better get cracking and head to Beckfoot before the heavens open. Well, I've made it and there's not a shower in sight. Ahead of me I can hear the drone of the M6 motorway, which tomorrow I'll be crossing as I leave the River Lune and indeed the Yorkshire Dales National Park behind and head west to Burneside and the Lakeland Fringes. just crossed the M6 motorway, and on today's walk I'll be crossing the undulating no man's land between the Yorkshire Dales National Park and the Lake District National Park, as I leave the Howgills behind and are drawn on by the distinctive skyline of Lakeland. Just admiring this view from the gateway of the Lakeland Fells, which are becoming tantalisingly close now as I make my way further westward towards Bowness. All along this walk along the Dales Way, I've been using gates, fences and stiles as focal points, leads and foreground interest in my photographs. Now at this point I'd like to throw my hat into the ring on the debate about whether you should include closed or open gates in photographs. I've heard people say that you should never include a closed gate in a photograph, but in some of my photographs that I've been taking along the way, I've wanted the gate to be a focal point rather than a bit of foreground interest or a lead. And in that sense, it's okay to have a closed gate in your photograph, from my personal opinion, because if you don't necessarily want your viewer to look deeper into the photograph, then the gate acts as that focal point, and as long as it's separate from the landscape beyond, the landscape just provides a little bit of context about location. However, if you are using the gate as a lead or some foreground interest to lead you into something deeper within that landscape, then by all means, leave it open. I can't believe that I've nearly reached the end of my penultimate day on the Dales Way. Staveley, my destination, is about a mile away. Tomorrow I'll be getting my first glimpses of Windermere and heading to my final destination of Bowness. It's day 7 on the Dales Way. I've just left the village of Staveley, having walked 77 miles. That means there's only 5 to go. It's like the weather is welcoming me to the Lake District. It's just poured it down solidly for about 15 minutes, so I can now add being drenched to my list of Dales Way experiences that I'm ticking off along the route. Now for me, photography has always been a journey of discovery, whether that's learning new techniques, new approaches, or discovering new things to photograph. A little bit like walking the Dales Way, we can get frustrated from time to time, going down the wrong path and having to retrace our steps, or feel the metaphorical blisters if we get a scathing review of one of our photographs, or we don't get as many likes as we would want to on social media. But ultimately it's not about that. It's about being out there and enjoying the process. No matter what it is that you're into, whether it's walking, whether it's photography, or whether it's jiu-jitsu, just getting out there and doing it will far outweigh the struggles and frustrations that you come across along the way. I say that as I approach Windermere. Just over the ridge of trees behind me, I should get my first glimpse of the glimmering water. So, not far to go, I'm going to march on before the next shower hits. Well, that's it. After 7 days of walking and 82 miles, I finally made it to the rather drizzly banks of Windermere and the town of Bowness. Although I've been drenched by the rain, scorched by the sun, and you may not be able to see my left foot for blister plasters, I can honestly say I've enjoyed every single step and every single photograph. I do hope you've enjoyed joining me on my journey. Now it's your turn to walk and maybe photograph the Dales Way.